Earthlings, how you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Alright, let's jump into our cosmic weather. Check out what's going on out there. Starting off at space weather, we see that our solar wind is currently at 580.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is at a 2, possibly a 4 in the next 24 hours. Let's look at our coronal hole, see what's going on there. Things have smoothed over a little bit. Not such a big gaping hole, but we really can't see too much from over here. Alright, and again, it's just places where wind can blow, so sometimes wondering where the solar wind come from. It can come from blowing right off of here. Alright, our chance for flares, a 65% chance we're going to have an M-class flare. Only 10% chance is going to be an X-class in nature. And geomagnetic external activity in the mid-latitudes, it's 35% chance there's going to be something active. In the higher latitudes, it could be severe, 50% chance in the next 24 hours. And so, if so, you can get some good bursts and things of that, of light and color. It says huge sunspot AR 1476, it's the one we're watching now, is crackling with M-class solar flares and appears to be on the verge of producing something even stronger. The sunspot's beta-gamma-delta magnetic field harbors energy for X-class flares, the most powerful kind. Earth is entering the line of fire as the sunspot rotates across the face of the sun. This morning, May 10th, at 4:18 Universal Time, sunspot 1476 unleashed an impulsive M5 class solar flare. An M5, so we should be feeling that within the next couple days. Astrologically, dealing with the same sun sign, which is Taurus. Taurus is the element of Earth. The Earth element is about practicality. It's about the things that you build in this Earth. So during this period of time, this element we deal with is the element of Earth. Building, creating, manifesting all the things that are the final byproduct of all of the other elements, Earth. So that's our conscious mind, unconscious mind, represented by the moon. Our moon sign here is still in Capricorn. Capricorn is also Earth. In the tarot cards, it's the tarot card of the devil. So we have element of Earth and the element of Earth. So we can have a lot of practicality going on with our mind. Our mind really needing to pay attention to what's going on, that inner teacher. Because if you look at the duality of the cards, you've got the Capricorn, which would be the tarot card of the devil, and you've got the Hierophant, which is Taurus, which is the spiritual teacher. So you have a battle between, the two forces, both representing Earth energies, but coming from different perspectives and points of view. So it's important, as the Taurus and the Hierophant says, to listen to the inner teacher that will allow you to be able to see past the illusions of the Capricorn, the devil, those sorts of things. So those are just some examples of different ways of looking at the Earth between the two different elements. And I reference the tarot cards often because they relate to astrology. Again, nothing evil or bad. I know there's been a bad rap about them, but they're just showing how energies move. Hollywood's portrayed them in bad ways. People have portrayed things in bad ways, but it doesn't mean that they themselves are bad. Alright, our moon is in 74% full. Got a ways to go before we get down to a new moon. And on our Mayan oracle, we're at 8-tone. So the 8-tone is called the galactic tone. So, and then the middle kin right here is the wind. So today is called the galactic wind. And the guide, which is above it, is the world bridger. So today is the galactic wind, guided by the world bridger. And the galactic tone is tone number 8, which shows us that we are at the 8th position on this particular wave spell. So they all tie together here when you look at it, just kind of puts the puzzle together. Now the supporting cast members around here are the human, the earth, and the storm. And altogether the phrase for today is I harmonize in order to communicate modeling breath. I seal the input of spirit with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of death. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Thursday, May 10th, 2012. Alright, that is our cosmic weather for today. Alright, first thing I'm going to get started with, I have a lot of news I want you to point you towards today, so we're going to get started here. This is Alana RT and reports about court rules against Illinois wiretap law. Here we go.
The sky will open, the light will come down, celestial choirs will be singing.
Well, tonight we have a glimmer of hope when it comes to keeping law enforcement in check. In the past, we've discussed how 3 states, Massachusetts, Maryland, and Illinois, all have laws in place that ban you from filming police officers. But thanks to the growing attention around the absurd use of older laws to apply to today's world where most everybody has a recording device on them in the form of a cell phone at least, opposition in Illinois to reverse the law has been formed, even though it's actually been in place since the 60s. See, under the eavesdropping law in Illinois, people are prohibited from recording audio of public conversations without the consent of everyone involved. It's a Class 1 felony. If you violate the law, it could come with a 15-year prison sentence. And sadly, we've actually seen examples of this ridiculous law being enforced. Think back to last year when Illinois resident Michael Allison filmed a police officer while he was on duty, and he was then hit with 5 felony charges. So do the math. 5 charges each with 15 years in jail, and Allison could be facing 75 years behind bars. Now that's the kind of punishment usually reserved for rapists, but apparently not in Illinois.
This doesn't make any sense, and for one thing, the statute, as it's written, can be interpreted any which way.
Well, Allison isn't the only one who's been made an example of. Take the case of Louis Frobe, a man who recorded his encounter with a police officer after being pulled over for speeding. Now, despite the fact that the police car was recording the entire conversation, video, and audio, the officer still arrested Frobe for violating the eavesdropping law and recording him. So he filed a suit in federal court questioning its constitutionality.
And they had audio and they had video on me, but I'm not allowed to do it to them. I'm in a private car on a public street and it's a public official. Why shouldn't I be able to record what's going on so I can prove my innocence?
Now, Frobe has been joined by several others who have questioned whether or not the draconian law violates the First Amendment. But here's where the glimmer of hope actually comes in. Seems as more and more people have been calling on the state to reverse this eavesdropping law, they've actually been listening. In fact, Chicago officials have already announced that they won't be enforcing it during the NATO summit later this month, a move that's been cheered, obviously, by protesters. But there's also more permanent efforts to remove the criminal law on the books. Elaine Nekritz, a state representative, has been a long-time opponent, and so she has worked very hard to create bills to try to overturn this law. But she's had to revise the bill several times after lobbyists for police have argued vehemently the people can edit or doctor the video, putting police in a bad light. So she went back to the drawing board, revised the bill to address that issue. And in a recent press conference, Nekritz said that she feels very strongly the lawmakers will support her proposal.
We think we have some momentum in the Illinois House to have a different outcome on this vote. The advocates have been working very hard, talking to members, making sure that members really understand the implications of this bill and why this bill is important at this time.
Now, while Nekritz has been hammering away on the legislature, the ACLU has brought its concerns to the state's judicial branch. They've had a lawsuit in the works since 2010 contesting the constitutionality of this law. But a lower appeals court deferred on making a decision. So now the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has weighed in. And the justices think of the law likely violates the First Amendment. Now, they've officially called on the lower courts to make a declaration as to whether or not the eavesdropping law is unconstitutional. But in the meantime, they're barring anybody from being arrested under the law. And federal appellate judge Diane Sykes sent the lower courts in the following direction. She said, defending the broad sweep of this statute, the state attorneys rely on the government's interest in protecting conversational privacy. But that interest is not implicated when police officers are performing their duties in public places and engaging in public communications audible to persons who witnessed the events. So, while we wait for an official decision, several signs are pointing towards a reversal of this eavesdropping law in Illinois. And despite the outcry from cops who say that they need this for their own protection, seems like judges, lawmakers, they do want to protect the public as well. And so I would say that that's a true glimmer of hope.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is our UFO news for today. 5 stories for you. First story comes to us from Israel. Modi Gabor, a resident of Kfar Yonah, a suburb of Natiana, Israel, was coming home with his son Wednesday night around 8 from Lag Baumer festivals when he saw something quite literally out of this world. I saw something very strange, he told the Jewish press early Thursday morning. I arrived at the parking bay in my housing complex. I look up alongside the top of the building. I see these orange balls moving in formation, slight altogether. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. There we go. You can see them there. They're right there in this. We got a whole series of them. Up. Alright, very good. That's the sightings there over Israel. Next one here, this is Montreal, Canada, by the plane. This might be a repeat. So if it is, we get a good second look at it. Yeah, okay, this one, we saw this one the other day. This was... Alright. Here we have from Gather News, Lunar Astronaut addresses orb UFO sightings. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, a former NASA astronaut and a Lunar Landing Command Module pilot, phoned in to a UFO sightings conference and offered a professional opinion concerning his explanation of orb incidents sweeping the world. His advice, be patient. Not exactly a ringing endorsement, but interesting. Mr. Mitchell also disagreed that these orbs are new. Weighing in on the matter over a speakerphone at an unidentified, though recent conference on the subject, Dr. Mitchell was asked his opinion of the significant increase of the type of sightings becoming known as the orb, or even more specifically the silver orb UFO type, which have definitely seemed to be on the rise, if videos posted on YouTube are any indicator. Although this video lacks quality in audio, or lacks audio quality, it's recorded well enough to convey that the former lunar astronaut believes these sightings are nothing new, having been reported for at least as long as he himself has been investigating the phenomenon. Alright, the link's available for you so you can check this out further. Next story here is a sighting over Argentina on May 9th. Okay, this is what we're going to be seeing here. My friend caught this UFO on his cell phone over my city this morning. Passed the photo to me via Facebook. Said he took the photo. Okay, so that's the image right there. That's what we have. Maybe closer up. Alright. And the last one, giant UFO caught by NASA in sun's corona. Okay, this is an image here. Another UFO is captured near the corona of the sun, and again it is a long arm-like craft. This is the third time in 2 weeks that such a UFO was recorded near the sun. Also, it is possible it is the same craft. Okay, let's take a look at this here. Now, this one is a pretty interesting looking one here. There we go. I'm going to freeze it once we get right there. You can see it blinks. Alright, check that out. Check that out. This is what is being seen above the sun there. Obviously, it's been captured by those who have been paying attention to Soho. Alright. So, you decide what you think that might be. Pretty fascinating indeed. Wouldn't you agree? Alright, there you go. That is our UFO news for today. Time to wake up. Here we go.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brothers watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if by land and two if by sea? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, continuing on, we're gonna start things off here next with Ron Paul, and this is a speech he gave. This is on C-SPAN, and this was about the NDAA.
To repeal the infamous Section 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act, quietly signed into law by the President on New Year's Day. What a way to usher in the new year. Section 1021 essentially codifies into law the very dubious claim of presidential authority under 2001 authorization for the use of military force to indefinitely detain American citizens without access to legal representation or due process of law. Section 1021 provides for the possibility of the U.S. military acting as a kind of police force on U.S. soil, apprehending terror suspects, including Americans, and whisking them off to an undisclosed location indefinitely. No right to attorney, no right to trial, no day in court. This is precisely the kind of egregious distortion of justice that Americans have always ridiculed in so many dictatorships overseas. A great man named Solzhenitsyn became the hero of so many of us when he exposed the Soviet Union's extensive Gulag system. Is this really the kind of a United States we want to create in name of fighting terrorism? Some have argued that nothing in Section 1021 explicitly mandates holding Americans without trial, but it employs vague language, radically expanding the detention authority to include anyone who has substantially supported certain terrorist groups or associated forces. No one has defined what those terms mean. What is an associated force? Sadly, too many of my colleagues are too willing to undermine our Constitution to support such outrageous legislation. One senator even said about American citizens being picked up under this section of the NDAA, quote, "When they say, 'I want a lawyer,' you tell them, 'Shut up. You don't get a lawyer,'" close quote. Is this acceptable in someone who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution? Mr. Speaker, of course, I recognize how critical it is that we identify and apprehend those who are suspected of plotting attacks against Americans. But why do we have so little faith in our judicial system? Have we not tried in civilian court and won convictions of hundreds of individuals for terrorist or related activities? I fully support continuing to do so. But let us not abandon what is so unique and special about our system of government in the process. I hope my colleagues will join my effort to overturn this shameful Section 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act. And I yield back.
All right, very good. Mitt Romney said he would sign it, just like Obama did. Ron Paul's out there trying to get rid of it. It's not a good bill. If you know about it, then you know that Mitt Romney is not your friend saying he wants to sign it, and that should be enough to keep you from considering him. Now, this is a press release that's out in regards to the Republican Executive Committee member calls for resignation of RNC Chairman Reince Priebus. And basically the reason is because they're not being fair. Says Jeffrey Bales, member at large of the Pima County GOP Executive Committee, says due to a violation of RNC, Republican National Committee, Rule number 11, I call for Chairman Reince Priebus to resign immediately. It is un-American and beneath the standards established by the Republican Party to violate this rule. It is unethical to support a single Republican presidential candidate, Mitt Romney, while other Republican candidates remain in the race. Further, I call upon Mitt Romney to denounce this behavior and ask that the RNC repair the breach of trust by including the other remaining Republican presidential candidate, Ron Paul, in any dispensation of funds, effort, and labor. It would benefit all Americans if Mitt Romney would further clarify the fact that two candidates remained if he challenged Dr. Paul to a debate. And basically, rule number 11 says the Republican National Committee shall not, without the prior written and filed approval of all members of the Republican National Committee from the state involved, contribute money or in any kind aid to any candidate for any public or party office except the nominee of Republican Party or the candidate who is unopposed in the Republican primary after the filing deadline for that office. Basically what it says is that until they actually choose their final candidate, they're not supposed to show favoritism towards anybody. Guess what they're doing? That's right, they're showing favoritism to somebody. Mitt Romney, by calling him the presumptive nominee. But he's not the nominee yet. He hasn't won. He doesn't have enough delegates. And the delegate count that you've been told he has by the mainstream is not correct. Next here, if Mitt Romney is so sure of himself, why is he taking any swipes at Ron Paul? If he has this thing all locked up, as they say, then why is he concerned? That doesn't make sense, because if you're winning a race, you don't turn around and, pick a fight or get in the way of the person who's running behind you. You just keep going, right? That's what it seems to be. But Mitt Romney here is doing something different. For a man who seems to have the Republican presidential nomination sewn up, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney's decision to attack the policies of his only rival who has not dropped out of the race, Representative Ron Paul from Texas. It's curious indeed. Paul has proposed slashing $1 trillion from the federal deficit in the first year of office and balancing the budget in 3 years. He has argued that much of the deficit reduction could be achieved by ending America's overseas military operations, closing foreign bases, and bringing the troops home. Romney, however, will have none of it, reports the Washington Times. My job is to get America back on track, have a balanced budget, he told attendees at a suburban Cleveland town hall event Monday. Now I'm going to cut $1 trillion in the first year, he added, a clear jab at Paul's plan. So, obviously Mitt Romney knows that what's really going on, and he is not being honest by his actions. And it just shows that he's concerned. He knows that Ron Paul is a threat to him out there, that the Ron Paul campaign has tremendous amount of merit. All right, here's a story that you should be concerned about. Fed clears China's first U.S. bank takeover. The United States opened its banking market to China's biggest bank, ICBC, for the first time, clearing a takeover of a U.S. bank by a Chinese state-controlled company. Just days after high-level U.S.-Chinese economic talks in Beijing, the Federal Reserve approved an application from Industrial and Commercial Bank of China to buy a majority stake in the U.S. subsidiary of Bank of East Asia. The transaction will make ICBC the first Chinese state-controlled bank to acquire retail bank branches in the United States. IBC here is the most aggressive of China's big four banks and expanding abroad. Outside China, operates subsidiary banks in Asian countries and has branches in a number of countries including Germany, Japan, and Singapore. According to the Fed, the bank has total assets of roughly $2.5 trillion. And here's a little further story about China. A Chinese group plans to construct a 200-acre China city in Michigan. A China group known as Sino-Michigan Properties, LLC, has bought up 200 acres of land near the town of Milan, Michigan. Their plan is to construct a China city with artificial lakes, Chinese cultural center, and hundreds of housing units for Chinese citizens. Essentially, it would be a little slice of communist China dropped right into the heartland of America. This China city would be located about 40 minutes from both Detroit and Toledo, and it would be marketed to Chinese business people that wanted to start businesses in the United States. Unfortunately, this is not just an isolated incident. In fact, Chinese companies have been buying up land and businesses all over the country. In recent years, there even have been talks of establishing special economic zones inside the United States, modeled after the Chinese city of Shenzhen. So, the United States is being divided up before your very eyes, and you might not even realize it unless such stories are brought to your attention. Now that you know, share them with others. This is from Bloomberg. Pentagon defends buying from Russia. So now America is buying military gear from other countries. Huh. Wouldn't it be good for our budget if we bought military gear from our own countries? The Pentagon says it's in a bind, with nowhere to turn for helicopters needed by Afghanistan's Air Force except Russia, a top arms supplier to Syria's President Bashar al-Assad. The U.S. Army has a $375 million contract to buy 21 Russian-made Mi-17 helicopters for the Afghans from Roxbono Export, Russia's state-run arms trader. Pentagon Undersecretary for Policy James Miller said in a previously undisclosed March 30th letter to a lawmaker opposed to the deal. The Mi-17 acquisition effort is critical to building the capacity of Afghanistan security forces. At the same time, they acknowledge that Robo Export continues to supply weapons and ammunition to the Assad regime, and there is evidence that some of these arms are being used by Syrian forces against Syrian civilian population. Oh, what a crazy, crazy web, right? They do one thing, they're buying weapons from other countries, they're telling you our country needs to spend more money here. It's a big joke. It's a big joke. It's like the underwear bomber, too. A big joke. Alright, now there was reports about Chicago that the Red Cross in Wisconsin was told to prepare for evacuees. And then, of course, believe it or not, when members of the Department of Homeland Security or government agencies were contacted about such things, they denied them. Can you believe they denied? And so now here's some other places that is giving confirmation. Despite the city officials and Secret Service refusing to confirm that they gave the Red Cross an order to prepare for the evacuation of Chicago during the upcoming NATO summit, Benedictine University are just one of dozens of institutions preparing to receive thousands of evacuees. Thousands, it says here, friends. Thousands. And they're just one of dozens of institutions. So what are they preparing to evacuate? They have one of dozens of institutions preparing to receive thousands. Okay, dozen with an S, that's multiple dozens, right? So a dozen's 12, so multiple dozens would be at least 24. And if this particular one, okay, it doesn't say that the individual one's ready to receive, but thousands of evacuees. That's a lot of people. So they're planning on doing something in Chicago. Goes on to say Benedictine is one of dozens of colleges, universities, community centers, or churches standing by just in case Chicagoans must leave their homes because of violence or any other reason connected to the NATO summit. However, as reported last week, authorities have refused to even acknowledge that they told the American Red Cross to make such preparations, despite Red Cross volunteers in the Milwaukee area receiving an email instructing them that. The American Red Cross in southeastern Wisconsin has been asked to place a number of shelters on standby in the event of evacuation of Chicago. In the event of evacuation of Chicago. Interesting. Alright. This is from Breitbart. Officials. Al-Qaeda bomber was CIA informant. Okay, let's apply this little rule we do here. We're going to substitute Al-Qaeda for CIA database, and we're going to see if the sentence makes any further sense. CIA database bomber was a CIA informant. Huh. See how that works? Because now to just say Al-Qaeda bomber was a CIA informant, alright, well, that tells you that the informant of Al-Qaeda was a member of CIA, but it doesn't clarify Al-Qaeda. But when you understand Al-Qaeda, CIA database, aha, suddenly it all makes sense. Let's go on, I'll continue to read. U.S. and Yemen officials say the supposed would-be bomber at the heart of an al-Qaeda airliner plot was an informant working for the CIA. The revelation, first reported by the Los Angeles Times, showed how the CIA was able to get its hands on a sophisticated underwear bomb before an attack was set in motion. Officials say the informant was working for the CIA and Saudi Arabian intelligence when he was given the bomb. He then turned the device over to authorities. Officials say the informant is safely out of Yemen. I heard they were calling him a double agent yesterday. A double agent. See, the news really wanted to manufacture this story. You see what the mainstream media does? They are really twisting the web of confusion with all of their misinformation. Here comes E-News. Uranium detected in Tokyo soil sample that needs more study, says a nuclear expert. Arnie Gunderson discusses the triple meltdown at Fukushima Daiichi and the Unit 4 spent fuel pool. WDEV Radio Vermont, Mark Johnson interviews Arnie Gunderson of Fairwinds. Johnson and Gunderson discuss the situation now at Fukushima and the lingering disaster at Unit 4 spent fuel. Alright, I'm going to play. This is just a short clip of his talk. Here we go.
When I was in Japan, I took samples. I had little sample bags. I took 5 samples from routine places, a crack in the pavement, kids' playground, some moss on the side of the road. The roof, the place I was at had a garden on the roof, and I took some samples from there. And then right across from the Supreme Court, and I brought them back, declared them through customs, and sent them to a lab. And the concentration of radioactivity in those samples was high enough that had it been in the United States, it would be nuclear waste. One sample also have a competent lab analysis now that shows it. One sample also picked up uranium, which was unique, and that needs more study. And the others contain cesium-134, 137, which that's the signature of Fukushima. This isn't bomb waste. This isn't just cesium-137. When you see the two together, you know it came from Fukushima.
Alright, so there's a full interview there. It's a long one, so I only wanted to play a clip just to get you interested, point you in the right direction so you can check it out. Alright, here's unedited news. Electromagnetic field catastrophes. Alright, what this is here, this has all kind of lists. Now, mass animal deaths recorded from 2010 to 2012 are increasing. Birds drop dead from the sky, fish wash ashore, and unusual geophysic activity generating sinkholes. Who is to blame? So as you go through here, let me open this up a bit more. What you're going to find are all kind of information here. Going from the 20th of March 2012, thousands of fish wash up in a riverbank in Singapore. And this link goes on all the way down. Look at this. Goes all the way down to 2010. And then there's all these sinkholes that have opened up. These are in different places around the United States and around the world. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. What we're going to do is we're going to do some math right now. We're going to add some things up, okay? So all of these things here, animal deaths, there's lots of them. You can individually add these up on their own and just say this adds up to something. But we're going to look at this as a whole, okay? One clue. Now, we're going to move from here. We have this story. YouTuber claims NASA has edited footage of spaceship near the sun. So, remember that spaceship we just showed a moment ago? Alright. Either we aren't alone or it's nigh time NASA fixed its dodgy cameras. For the third time this year, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory has returned an image of a giant UFO hovering near or feeding off the sun, maybe. SOHO was launched in 1995 as a joint effort between NASA and the European Space Agency, with a sole aim to study the sun. The mission was supposed to last just 2 years, but it's still plugging away and has approved support from ESA to continue to do so until at least December. In recent years, SOHO has found an extended role as a predictor of solar weather activity, helping scientists on Earth prepare for radiation bursts sent our way by solar flares. Let me play this here. Alright. Basically, we looked at this image, right? And we saw this image. And now, if you go to SOHO, this is what you get when you go there. You get a link, and it says, lack of data updates. So it's not updating itself. SOHO went again into emergency sun reacquisition made on Wednesday. So that was the time when this image was seen out there. The ESR was again caused by a false trigger of the core sun pointing attitude anomaly detector. We are working on the recovery of the spacecraft to normal mode. It will take several days to return to normal science operation. So in other words, after this was seen, this went down. Also, this service right here, which usually shows the simulation of the atmosphere and the magnetosphere as it's getting hit, as you could see that this is down, and it even goes to say the NIC real-time space weather simulation service ended because the lease period of the supercomputer for the real-time simulation expired, and because the supercomputer for the real-time service will not be immediately available. Alright, here are two services that have been paying attention to what's going on with this planet that in the last week have subsided or aren't showing proper images. And all of this came about around the time when the sun was, people were seeing an image of the sun of something up there. So what is going on, folks? What is going on? Well, there is something going on, and I think this is a time for us to kind of stop what we're doing to pay a little bit of attention. Not, put everything aside, but pay a little bit of attention to what is taking place universally. So you got this crop circle that in 2008 appeared, and the crop circle seems to point to the dates of May 20th and June 6, 2012. It makes reference to the solar eclipse that's about to occur, the alignments of the planets, and a change of some sort. It also makes reference to return of Quetzalcoatl. June 6th is only, or May 20th is only a short period of time away, 10 days from today. Is there a UFO landing that is going to be taking place on that day? Is there something else going to be taking place with the sun? As you can see now, the images from the sun are being manipulated. What's up there is not being shown. They're not being updated. The other simulation was taken offline. Do all these have any coincidence? Are they all tied in together? I don't know. We also have during the period of time between June 20th and between May 20th and June 6th, we also have the NATO summit and the Bilderberg meetings. A lot's going on during that period of time. It's going to be interesting to see, but nonetheless, it's going to go on. Now I'm going to play this piece here. This is Jaime Maussan, and he's talking about this upcoming alignment. Here we go.
El 9 de agosto de 2005 apareció una figura en Weyland Smithy. Ahí claramente, con simbología maya, nos dieron una fecha, 20 de mayo, el día que se alinea la Tierra, las Pléyades y el Sol. Y también marcaron otra fecha, el 6 de junio, en el tránsito de Venus frente al Sol. ¿Por qué en el 2011 vuelven a repetir esta fecha. ¿Se trata de una advertencia? ¿Se trata de una cita? Este es un verdadero misterio, pero un misterio fascinante. Fernando Correa.
En el Reino Unido nuevamente apareció una figura que hace alusión a los símbolos de los mayas y que se refiere a eventos astronómicos especiales que ocurrirán en el 2012. Un eclipse anular de Sol, una gran alineación cósmica de cuerpos celestes que ocurrirá al mismo tiempo que el eclipse, y también se refiere al tránsito del planeta Venus. El 22 de julio del 2011, en los cultivos de Inglaterra, apareció esta figura extraordinaria en la región de East Kennet, Wiltshire. Obsérvela detenidamente, una formación circular de trazos exactos, que en el interior contiene grecas en posiciones que hacen 10 figuras tipo pirámides, cada pirámide con 5 niveles. Esta formación ha llamado poderosamente la atención de los investigadores de todo el mundo, porque en el centro aparece un símbolo que representa al eclipse anular de Sol que acontecerá el 20 de mayo del 2012. La formación de East Kennet está siendo relacionada directamente con la impresionante formación que apareció el 9 de agosto del 2005 en los trigales de Wiretapping, formación que contiene símbolos mayas y que al centro representa precisamente el eclipse anular de Sol del 2012. Ahora observe con atención esta comparación. En ambas formaciones los símbolos al centro resultan muy semejantes. Se refieren al cero de los mayas y también a la fecha cascabel, es decir, cuando el Sol se alinea con las Pléyades, en el último día del calendario, tal como ocurre en esta era, cada año los días 20 de mayo. Este símbolo al centro de ambas formaciones se refiere también al eclipse anular de Sol que será visible en el Pacífico en el 2012, precisamente durante el día 20 de mayo. Ese día resulta muy importante en el calendario de los mayas, reiterando que en esta fecha es cuando se alinea el Sol de los mayas, Kinichahau, con Saf, es decir, el astro rey en alineación con las Pléyades, que eran conocidas por los mayas como la constelación de Saf, que en maya significa el cascabel. Así, la formación de Wiretapping se refiere a un evento astronómico del futuro que ocurrirá el 20 de mayo del 2012. Ese día, durante el eclipse anular de Sol, se alinearán las Pléyades, el Sol, la Luna, la Tierra y el centro de la galaxia. Esta es la gran alineación cósmica de astros que algunos erróneamente esperan el 21 de diciembre del 2012, fecha en la que concluye la cuenta larga del calendario maya. Al observar con detenimiento la formación de Wiretapping en torno al símbolo del eclipse, aparecen 16 plumas que se refieren a que 16 días después del eclipse acontecerá el tránsito del planeta Venus frente al Sol. Un evento astronómico que, dependiendo del lugar del planeta donde se observe, ocurrirá el día 5 o el día 6 de junio del 2012. También en la formación de East Kennet, junto al símbolo del eclipse, aparecen en este caso 17 plumas que indicarían la misma fecha del tránsito de Venus frente al disco solar. La figura de Wiretapping impresionó con su aparición y ahora la sorpresa se renueva con el reporte de la aparición de la formación de East Kennet. Un diseño con símbolos mayas que continúa siendo investigado profundamente, puesto que se refiere a eventos astronómicos especiales que acontecerán en el futuro, en el año 2012. Se trata de formaciones que nos hablan de eventos astronómicos del futuro, que ocurrirán en la fecha cascabel del calendario maya, el 20 de mayo del 2012. Más adelante, no se pierda la información sobre la figura que apareció y que se refiere a Quetzalcóatl.
All right, so something is about to happen. That could be quite fascinating. So we're only 10 days away from that. What do you think it's going to be? Let me know what you think. You know, hit me up at Facebook. Send me over a message at YouTube. firstcontactradio@yahoo.com is the email address. What do you think is going to go on at that time? You know, this involves all of us. Something's going on. Is this, I don't know. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? All right, let's close things out with our meditation. Go ahead and close your eyes, relax. Alright. Let's imagine that we are standing in a field, looking at the sky. And as we stand at the field and we're looking at the sky and we see the planets and the stars, and as we tune in and listen closely to what they are telling us, we realize that there is a message very important coming to us from the cosmos. And the message is to get in tune with nature. To step away from the ways of artificial life and artificial society, to take a moment to reconnect with nature. For if the nature of who you are is denied, then anything else that follows simply cannot really work itself out in a proper way. Because the true nature of who you are is not really allowing the further growth to happen. So you listen to the planets and the stars and you take time to connect. And you realize that the more that you are connected spiritually, the more effective your life is physically. You realize the connection between both, and that the events of the cosmos are all intended to make your life better here on Earth. As you look at the planets and stars and you realize your place in the cosmos next to them, you realize that by simply letting go and trusting the flow of life, that you will be in synchronicity as need to be. Imagine all of your chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine. Starting with the first chakra, the color is red, then up to there, the second one, orange. From the second chakra up to the third chakra, just below the rib cage, yellow. At the heart chakra, color is green. From the heart to the throat, blue. From the throat to the third eye, violet. And finally to the crown chakra, indigo. The light continues on into the cosmos as bright white light. You are connected above and below. In this moment, honor this connection that you have. Take a moment to find your balance in all of this energy. Take a moment to contemplate the changes that are about to go all around you in life. Now let's think a good thought for everyone around the planet. Send love to everyone around the planet, because we're all in this together, and what we're going through is being experienced by everyone. There is no one that is immune from what is happening. So let's all send love and support to each and every one. And with that, we'll bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Alright, there you have it. that is our show. That is our prayer, our meditation. You know, there's something pretty cool might be happening 10 days from now. Not that we're supposed to wait for a particular day, but just to know that there are changes in the air. For a long time, we've heard about 2012. Well, here we are in the midst of it, nearly halfway through. So if the events of 2012 are going to unfold as many, many, many upon this planet have said, then we need to be getting underway, don't you think? And if these events of May 20th are something that are moving us forward, then we should be paying attention, because those events are more important than anything else that is going on. So, all the links are available. Check it out. FirstContactRadio.com. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. You have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.